You think you know yourself, but most of what you call knowing yourself is just a collection of other people's opinions about who you should be. You've spent so long performing that you've lost track of what's real, and until you strip away the performance, you'll never actually know who you are. Here's how to start. Most people don't know themselves because they've never stopped performing long enough to find out. From childhood, you learned which version of yourself got approval, which traits got praise, which emotions were acceptable, and you built an identity around being that person. The problem is that person isn't you. It's a carefully curated performance designed to keep you safe, accepted, and loved. Here's what that looks like in practice. Someone asks what you want to do this weekend, and your first thought isn't what you actually want. It's what sounds acceptable, what won't make you seem boring, high maintenance, or difficult. So you suggest something safe, something that makes you look fun, easygoing, agreeable. And you've done this so many times you don't even notice anymore. You genuinely think that safe answer is what you want. But it's not. It's what you've learned to want. Or look at your career. You're in a job that's respectable, it pays well. It's what you went to school for. But you hate it. You've hated it for years. And when people ask if you like your job, you say, it's fine. It's stable. Because admitting you hate it means admitting you made the wrong choice, that you wasted years, that you don't know what else you'd do. So you keep showing up, and you tell yourself this is just what being an adult looks like. The truth is, you don't know yourself because you've been too busy being who you thought you had to be. You've spent decades managing other people's expectations, avoiding their disappointment, and contorting yourself into shapes that fit their needs. And now, when you try to figure out what you actually want, there's nothing there. Just a hollow feeling, a vague sense that something's missing. Because you've been living someone else's life for so long, you've forgotten what yours would even look like. So here's how to actually get to know yourself instead of just performing a version you think is acceptable. First, pay attention to what you do when no one's watching. The real you isn't who you are in public. It's who you are when you're alone. What do you reach for when you're bored? What makes you lose track of time? What do you think about in the shower? Those unguarded moments are where the truth lives. Because when there's no one to perform for, no one to impress, no one to manage, what's left is you. So stop dismissing those moments as irrelevant. They're not. They're the most honest data you have about who you actually are. Second, notice what makes you angry, not just sad. Most people think self-knowledge comes from exploring what makes them happy. But anger is more revealing, because anger shows you where your boundaries are, what you value, what you won't tolerate. If you're angry that people constantly interrupt you, that tells you that you value being heard. If you're angry that your partner doesn't help around the house, that tells you that you value partnership, not just cohabitation. Your anger isn't irrational, it's information. And ignoring it because you're supposed to be nice and easygoing is just another way of performing instead of being real. Third, ask yourself what you'd do if you weren't afraid of judgment. Most of your life decisions aren't based on what you want. They're based on what won't get you criticized. So imagine for a moment that no one was watching. No one had opinions, no one would judge you. What would you do? Where would you live? What would you wear? How would you spend your time? The gap between that answer and your current life is the cost of performing. And closing that gap is how you get back to yourself. Fourth, start small by making one decision this week based only on what you want. Not what's practical, not what makes sense, not what other people would choose, just what you want. Order the food you actually crave, not the one that seems healthiest. Wear the outfit that feels like you, not the one that's most flattering. Say no to plans you don't want to go to. These small acts of honesty are practice, because knowing yourself isn't a revelation that happens all at once. It's a skill you build by choosing yourself repeatedly until it stops feeling foreign. You don't know yourself because you've never given yourself permission to be known. You've been too busy managing how other people see you, performing the version that keeps you safe. And now you're so far from who you actually are, you don't even know where to start looking. Start by stopping. Stop performing, stop managing. Stop contorting yourself into shapes that fit other people's expectations. And see what's left when you're not trying to be anything. That's you, not the polished version, not the acceptable version, the real one. And knowing that person, really knowing them, is the only way to build a life that actually feels like yours.